In the search for understanding a bit more about the German immigrants' history in the United States, today we will be searching throughout the city of Milwaukee for forms of art and architecture created by German migrants, those that are still in existence to this day. Welcome to Germanology Plus. This episode, Art and Architecture in Milwaukee. Today, we are visiting a well-known German restaurant in West Dallas by the name of Kegel's Inn. The current owners are Rob and Jim Kegel, brothers, and the third generation owners, running the restaurant since 1982. Julian, the fourth generation Kegel, has taken over the ownership of the restaurant in early July of 2016. In the year 1933, we come across a man named John Kegel. On August 26, 1933, John Kegel opened the famous Kegel's Inn, once having been called Kegel's Place. Thanks to the end of Prohibition, federally ending earlier in the year 1933, John Kegel had renovated his Prohibition-era speakeasy into a restaurant and bar, including the creation of additional apartments built above the establishment. Having been disguised as a soft drink parlor during the time of Prohibition, Kegel's Place had only been able to remain undercover with help from the neighboring German community. Nearing close to the end of Prohibition in Wisconsin, Kegel's Inn was struck with a police raid where John Kegel Jr.'s wife was ticketed for arrest. Luckily, the charges were dropped within the year, as Wisconsin has put an end to Prohibition in 1928. The architecture for the newly planned Kegel's Inn was finished by Mark F. Fowler. The spectacular stained glass windows had been completed by the Milwaukee art glass firm of the Wagner brothers. Additional woodwork was completed by the West Allis Marx brothers. Artwork for the opening of Kegel's Inn was completed by Peter Gries.
It's unclear as to what region he came from in Austria, but I know that because he was Austrian, my grandpa was from Salzburg, so it's northern Austria. That he had found a connection through my great grandpa here. They became friends over like 7 or 8 years. Great grandpa started the bar, and he basically used Peter Gries to like kind of do a joint marketing project. Okay, so Peter was a landscape and cathedral artist, and so he came in here and he sort of showed off his work. John Sr. got to share Peter's expertise, off to everybody that came into the bar.
As additional dining areas in Kegel's were created, additional murals had been painted, and in all, Peter Gries took more than 7 years to complete his work. From 1933 until 1940, Peter Gries made sure to incorporate British hunting scenes to deflect any accusation that Kegel's was associated with any Nazi German regime. Today, Kegel's Inn is bustling with customers who come for the revered Friday fish fries. Though German migrants enjoyed their food as well as their beer, German migrants had come together for all sorts of reasons, joining clubs for bowling, singing, and more. A club called the Turners, or Turnverein, sprung up in the late 19th century, coming together to practice gymnastics and physical education. Their clubhouse? Turner Hall. The Turner Hall building was constructed in 1882, being one of the several important Milwaukee buildings designed by the famous German immigrant Henry Koch, who was known as the architect of Milwaukee's City Hall. and the Pfister Hotel. His work traditionally utilized local materials to mix innovative styles of Queen Anne and Romanesque architecture. And for Turner Hall, the famed cream city brick is one of the strongest characteristics in its construction. Today, we have met with Turner Hall's executive director, Katarina Hren, as she has agreed to show us around. Turner Hall is complete with a gymnasium, restaurant and beer hall, a few meeting rooms and a grand two-story ballroom. Turner Hall had a tie to the body and the mind, using inspirational phrases that became slightly modified for the changing world and when moving towards religious tolerance. Their most memorable motto is that a Turner should be of sound mind and sound body. The famous panoramic paintings located in the first floor of the building were recently restored. German migrants had a tie to Native American lifestyle and were pro-indigenous long before issues of civil rights came to light. This image of a native hunter and a colonial huntsman is representative of the solidarity Germans shared with Native Americans. The background they are facing depicts Milwaukee. Near this image, there is an elegant panorama of the women of the Turners, the Ladies' Auxiliary. This painting opened into another room utilized by the female group for discussion, crafting, and more. The banner above the walkway was written by Schiller, but has an air of insult to women that has been questioned. Exiting the restaurant and leading up to the Turner Ballroom, we come across a memorial. This memorial was for German migrants who had gone to war, listing the names of men who were injured, disappeared, or perished during the Civil War. The original bust of Friedrich Ludwig Jahn now resides on the stairwell leading up to the Turner Ballroom on the landing with the memorial. Father Jahn was a head figure in the promotion of physical and mental education and practice, as well as the father of the Turner movement. It was said that the bust had been located over the main entrance to the building but remains here for safety. The Turner Ballroom had 2 fires during the first half of the 20th century. Though the Turner Ballroom has been under restoration, it is utilized by Pabst Theater for a variety of music venues and other shows. Turner Hall is a wonderful example of German culture and livelihood. Though Turner Ballroom provides a charming venue for music and shows, if you are looking for a more elegant and romantic atmosphere, come with us as we explore the Pabst Theater. The Pabst Theater rose from the ashes of a theater once called Das Neue Deutsche Stadttheater, or the New German City Theater, originally built by Captain Friedrich Pabst in 1890. In 1895, the theater had suffered severe fire damage while Pabst was on a vacation in Europe, but within the year the theater was rebuilt. The theater's design was created by architect Otto Strack, built in the tradition of great European opera houses. Having an opulent Baroque interior, the Pabst Theater is often called the Grand Old Lady. The stunning crystal chandelier completes the image of the Pabst. The chandelier was imported from Austria and weighs over 2 tons. The statue of Apollo, surrounded by the muses of drama and song, overlooks the whole of the theater. The theater was later extensively renovated in 1928, and the restoration to the theater's original style had not occurred until 1976. The original seats of the theater still remain on the 3rd level balcony, but the theater is newly equipped with a hydraulic orchestra pit after restorations had finished. Our guide, Andrew Nelson, explains the changes Pabst Theater experienced during the 20th century.
Jazz is starting, so it's like there's just an explosion of color, and people want things more bright and flashy. And there was 18 boxes along the side here, which are no longer. They painted the place teal. In 1895 there was an original chandelier that was taken out, and then they put in this really boring dome symphony light. Flat and boring. They really took a lot out of it, a lot of its opulency, and just tried to make it as modern as possible. It was like someone taking, buying a beautiful 200-year-old house on the lakefront of Milwaukee, and then just
immediately getting in a renovation.
Right. Yeah.
Painting
let's
wood
knock
floors
on the
or something
walls.
crazy.
Yeah. Let's get rid of all this stuff. And then, like many theaters across the country, in America at least, as the 60s rolled around, again there was this modernization. If you look at architecture, like the 70s, any gross boring buildings in Milwaukee were probably built in the 70s, and they probably knock down some amazing, incredible historic architecture to do it. And so that's what they wanted to do with the Pabst Theater. No one was really using the Pabst Theater. There was city leaders saying it's just can never hold a sustainable business here. So they wanted to knock it down and make this a parking lot for City Hall. But luckily, our mayor at the time, Henry Meyer, and his wife really led the charge to save the theater, and $1 million was put into the theater. And there you saw the next big, huge renovation of this theater.
These restorations mark the Pabst as one of the most beautiful theaters in the US. However, there is always so much more to see. We have experienced some of the German migrant influence within the life and heart of the city. From food to fitness, and from fitness to entertainment, Milwaukee bustles with German influence to this day. Thank you for joining us on Germanology Plus. If you ever have the pleasure of exploring Milwaukee, make sure to incorporate German art and architecture into your voyage. Auf Wiedersehen.